I was never the kind of kid who needed much. Just a quiet room, a working laptop, and my dad sitting next to me, explaining how loops work in Python like it was the most important thing in the world. He passed away when I was 13. Pancreatic cancer. The kind that doesn't wait. Since then, everything I've done, every sleepless night with textbooks, every coding competition, every scholarship essay, I did for him. Not just to make him proud, but to keep the promise I whispered the night he died. I'll get there, Dad, I'll make it. But I never expected the real fight wouldn't be with the world, but with my own family. Because after my mom remarried, everything changed, and when her new husband and his daughter came into our lives, they didn't just want a place in the family. They wanted everything my father left behind. After my dad passed, silence filled the house in a way that noise never could. At first, I didn't know what to do with myself. The man who used to quiz me on math formulas over dinner and challenge me to debug toy programs on our beat-up ThinkPad was gone. And with him went the warmth, the safety, and the quiet belief that the world was still fair. My mom tried her best. I could see it in the way she forced a smile every morning, packed my lunch like clockwork, and left sticky notes on my door that said, "Proud of you," even on days when I'd barely spoken. But we both knew something was missing, and it wasn't just him. It was direction, stability, and something neither of us could name back then: belief. So I filled the hole with work. School became my anchor. I threw myself into everything: robotics club, coding competitions, advanced math electives. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. just to study without distraction. While other kids were out partying or dating, I was comparing algorithm runtimes and rewriting personal statements. I didn't care if it made me look obsessive. To me, every hour spent grinding was a brick on the road my dad laid for me. I still remember the day I found the folder. It was in a drawer of his old desk, tucked beneath a pile of printouts from his final project at work. Inside was a college plan, typed, annotated, and indexed. A spreadsheet of projected tuition costs, bank statements showing steady contributions to a fund labeled Evan Future, and a sealed envelope marked open when accepted. I was 15. That folder hit me harder than the funeral, because it reminded me that my dad hadn't just loved me. He'd planned for me. He'd believed I'd make it, believed in me when I didn't yet know how to believe in myself. From that day forward, I stopped doing things just to cop. I started doing them with purpose. I volunteered to tutor younger students in math and computer science. I competed in local STEM fairs. I started learning C++, then Java. My teachers took notice. One of them, Mr. Chen, my programming instructor, pulled me aside and said, "You've got something rare, Evan. Don't let this place dim it." I didn't. Every trophy, every certificate, every perfect grade, each one was another small way I could say, "I remember you, Dad." We weren't rich, but thanks to his foresight, we were okay. The fund covered what we'd need for college. My mom still taught at the local middle school. We had routines again. Pizza on Fridays, quiet dinners, the occasional smile. For a while, it felt like maybe we'd make it. Just the two of us. And then, she met him. Lester. I remember the first time I saw Lester like it was yesterday. It was a Sunday afternoon. Mom had told me earlier in the week that she was seeing someone, but I didn't think much of it. She deserved to be happy. I figured it was a coffee date. A few laughs. Maybe someone to talk to, who wasn't her teenage son buried in textbooks. But when I came downstairs and saw him standing in our kitchen, like he already belonged there, wearing a blazer 2 sizes too tight and flashing this salesman smile, something in my stomach twisted. He brought flowers. Called me champ. Asked what I was into. When I said, computer science, he nodded like he understood, and then launched into a story about this one time. He almost started a tech company. If only he'd had the time, or the team, or something. It was a lot of words. None of them said much. Mom was beaming, though. Laughing at every joke. She looked lighter. Like someone had lifted something off her. So I smiled too. I played along. But things moved fast, too fast. Within 3 months, Lester had practically moved in. By 6, he wasn't just around. He was there. Every day. Rearranging furniture, fixing things that weren't broken, and inserting himself into conversations he didn't belong in. He started calling us a new family. That's when Bianca entered the picture. She was Lester's daughter from a previous marriage. A year older than me, but still in high school due to being held back. Twice. The first time I met her, she was scrolling on her phone at our dinner table, Bluetooth earbuds in, wearing a designer hoodie and a look that said she'd rather be anywhere else. No hello, no eye contact. Just a bored, drawn out, sup. Mom tried her best to welcome her, cooked extra, bought her a desk lamp for her room, and even gave up her office so Bianca could have more space. Lester, of course, acted like Bianca was a prodigy, claimed she was business-minded, creative, and charismatic. What I saw was someone who cheated on tests, bragged about skipping class, and referred to herself as a brand on Instagram. The real tension started when people began noticing me. First came the STEM awards, then the local newspaper interview, after I won a regional coding challenge. I didn't think much of it, but Bianca did. She started making digs. Not everyone wants to be a nerd, you know. Oh look, it's the human calculator again. She'd roll her eyes whenever I talked about college or projects. Once, she even told a guest at our house that I hack people's emails. For fun, it was supposed to be a joke. But I saw the way Mom flinched. I tried to ignore her. I really did. But the more she felt overshadowed, the nastier she got. And Lester. He didn't just defend her. He doubled down. Claimed I was rubbing my success in her face. That I needed to think about how my ambition affects others. Seriously. For years, it had been just me and Mom against the world. Now it was like I was a guest in my own house. No matter how hard I worked or how quiet I stayed, it was never enough to make Lester and Bianca see me as anything but a threat. I kept telling myself it would pass. That if I just kept my head down and stayed focused, I'd be out soon enough. College was just around the corner. A new beginning, eh? But I didn't know then that they weren't just annoyed by my success. They wanted to claim it for themselves. It's a strange feeling. Watching the walls of your own house shift around you. Slowly, quietly, you start to notice things. My dad's framed photo from his first tech conference, replaced with a generic print of a palm tree. The ThinkPad we used to code on together disappeared. Mom said it had stopped working. The MIT mug Dad gave her, now tucked behind Lester's 51 Boss cup in the cabinet. It was like the house was being remodeled not just physically, but emotionally. And I was being edited out. Bianca's attitude didn't improve. In fact, it got worse the more she settled in. She started holding mini photo shoots in the living room, blasting music while she posed in front of mirrors and pouted into ring lights. I'd be trying to study for an AP physics exam while she loudly recorded videos about manifesting success and hustle culture. She started inviting friends over, loud, messy, fake, laughing types who treated our home like some kind of TikTok set. I stopped bringing my own friends over altogether. I didn't want to explain the chaos, or the way Bianca would size them up like she was deciding whether to insult them or flirt. The worst part. Mom started laughing along. At first, she'd roll her eyes. Teenagers, right? But slowly, she changed too. She started dressing differently, tighter clothes, trendier accessories. She downloaded Instagram again, started talking about opening a side business with Lester. Once, I walked into the kitchen and saw her watching some cringy YouTube video called 10 Habits of Millionaire Moms. It wasn't just the way she looked. It was the way she looked at me, like I was the one being difficult, the one clinging too hard to the past. And Lester. He started inserting himself into my life more and more, sat in on college counselor meetings, gave unsolicited advice about my resume, claimed I should tone down the nerd stuff, and highlight more leadership energy. Whatever that meant. He even started referring to my future as our investment. I remember freezing the first time he said that. Our investment. He was talking about my college fund. At dinner one night, he casually asked how much my dad had set aside for me. I shrugged it off, told him it was private, locked up in a trust. But he kept poking. That's a lot of money for one kid, he said, chuckling. Imagine what we could do with it as a family. As a family. Bianca chimed in. We could open our own brand, Dad, like a wellness spa or something. With my image and your business skills, it's a no-brainer. I looked at Mom, expecting at least a raised eyebrow, but she just smiled, and said, it's an interesting idea. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was scared, but because I finally saw it for what it was. This wasn't a blended family. It was a merger, and I was the leftover asset they were figuring out how to liquidate. From that point on, I knew it wasn't just about surviving until college. It was about protecting it. Because they weren't just trying to squeeze into my life anymore. They were trying to replace it. March 29th. I remember the exact date, not just because it changed everything, but because it started like any other Tuesday. I was in the library after school, surrounded by empty tables, highlighters, and my usual playlist of instrumental jazz. I wasn't really studying. I was refreshing my email. Over and over again. It was Ivy Day, when the top schools released their decisions. I'd applied to 5. I already had acceptances from my backups, but there was one school that mattered most. My dad's dream school. The one whose campus poster still hung in my room. The one we'd visited together before he got sick. Then it came. Subject line, update on your application status. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. I clicked. Held my breath. Congratulations. I didn't even finish the sentence. My vision blurred. My chest tightened. I just sat there, motionless, while the world spun quietly around me. It was real. I had made it. The first person I called was Mom. She screamed so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear.
I knew it, baby.
I can't know it, she shouted. Your dad would be so proud. For a moment, for just a moment, it felt like we were back in the old days. Before Lester. Before Bianca. Just the two of us celebrating something real. She said she'd pick up a cake. That we'd do something special tonight. I smiled through tears. Told her I loved her. I meant it. I got home around 7. She had candles lit, sparkling cider. Even pulled out an old photo of me and Dad on my first day of school. It was perfect. And then they came home. Lester and Bianca. Late, as usual. They strolled in like it was any other night. Until they saw the banner Mom had made. Congratulations, Evan. It said in bright, silver letters. Lester raised an eyebrow. What's all this? I got in, I said. Ivy League. Full tuition. Dad's fund covers the rest. He didn't smile. He didn't clap. He just nodded slowly. Huh? Bianca didn't even try to fake enthusiasm. That's nice, she muttered, eyes glued to her phone. I could feel the temperature drop. Lester poured himself a drink, sat down. Looked at Mom. So, he said. What's the plan with the fund now? I blinked. What do you mean? Well, he said, I just figured now's the time to talk about next steps. I've been working on a proposal. Expanding the spa, adding a second location. Bianca's ready to step in as a brand ambassador. With the right funding. Hold on. I cut in. That money is for school. That's what Dad left it for. Lester smiled like a man who'd been waiting for this. And you're going to school. Full tuition, you said. Which means the money's just sitting. Bianca chimed in. What could double it in a year? Easy. With my following, we could launch a whole wellness line. I turned to Mom. Expecting her to laugh it off, she didn't. She looked torn. Van, she said gently. Just listen, okay? It's just an idea. Lester's been working really hard. Bianca's finally focused. This could be good for all of us. All of us. I stood up. I walked to my room, closed the door, and cried. Not because they asked, but because she didn't say no. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the sealed letter my dad had left me, the one labeled, open when accepted. My hands trembled as I tore it open. Inside was a simple, handwritten note. His neat engineer's handwriting, steady and calm. If you're reading this, it means you did it. I always knew you would. I saved this money so you'd have choices I never had, so nothing would ever stand between you and the life you deserve. This fund is yours. Not just for college, but for your freedom. Make me proud, son. I read it 3 times. Then a 4th. And suddenly, everything felt clear. The next morning, I woke up different. I wasn't just a student anymore. I was someone who had something worth protecting. And I was ready to defend it, with everything I had. The next morning felt off from the start. I came downstairs to find Lester already at the kitchen table, dressed like he was about to pitch a startup to Silicon Valley investors. He had a laptop open, a stack of printed papers beside him, and a mug that read, "Or success is a mindset." Mom was there too. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her fingers were wrapped tightly around her coffee cup, the old MIT mug my dad gave her years ago. The sight of it in this setting made my stomach churn. Lester gestured toward the empty seat across from him. Morning, champ. Take a seat. We've got a lot to go over. No congratulations. No "oh, do you feel?" Just business. I sat down slowly. He turned his laptop toward me and clicked through to a PowerPoint slide titled, Family Financial Planning, a Strategic Roadmap for Collective Success. I almost laughed. Almost. Slide after slide followed exponential graphs with no sources, fake growth projections, and stock photos of SPAS and influencers. He used words like scalability, synergy, and monetize. Bianca's face was plastered across one slide labeled brand potential. At one point, he even said, "We're not just investing in a business. We're investing in our family." I stared at the screen, stunned. Each bullet point felt like a slap to my father's memory. When he finished, he leaned back in his chair like he'd just solved world hunger. So, sport. What do you think about taking a gap year? Give the business a chance to grow. Then we can revisit college later. That's when I snapped. I looked him straight in the eye. Calm. Cold. I looked up your business on the Better Business Bureau last night. I said. F rating. Multiple complaints for fraudulent warranties and odometer rollbacks. Lester blinked. I kept going. Your current location is 3 months behind on rent, and you tried to apply for a small business grant last year under a false EIN. Public records don't lie. Lester, his face twitched. Bianca appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, watching like a guard dog. Mom said nothing, just stared at her cup. I wasn't done. I pulled out my phone, scrolled, held up an email. This is from Dad's lawyer. I contacted him last night. The trust is ironclad. You have zero legal access to it, and any attempt to coerce me, or Mom, into transferring funds is potentially criminal. Now it was quiet, like break the air quiet. Lester's face darkened. You think you're better than this family, huh? think you can just throw words around and ignore what we've built here. What you've built, I said, is a delusion, and I'm not part of it. That's when he turned to Mom, voice low, dangerous. It's time to make a choice. Him or us. She looked up. Her eyes were rimmed red. She looked from him to me. I waited for her to say my name. Instead, she whispered, maybe we could just wait a little, defer for a year. Let things stabilize. Lester's worked so hard. We could revisit everything next year. It's not forever. That did it. Not the scheme. Not Bianca's smug grin. Her silence. Her choice. I stood. My voice shook, but my words didn't. You want affordable, I said. Okay. Here's what's cheap loyalty. Respect. Protecting your son's future when someone tries to steal it. Apparently those come free with Lester's PowerPoint. Bianca scoffed. I ignored her. I looked at Mom one last time. Her face was tight. Her eyes were wet. But she didn't move. Dad would be ashamed, I said quietly, of both of you. Then I turned around, walked upstairs, and began packing. Not everything, just essentials. My laptop, a week's worth of clothes, my documents, birth certificate, passport, and social security card, and Dad's MIT sweatshirt. That night, I stayed at my best friend Jake's house. His parents didn't ask questions. They just hugged me, made up the guest room, and let me sleep. The next few days were a blur. Lawyer calls, trust verification, bank paperwork. The fund remained untouched. Mom texted, please come home. We can talk. I didn't reply. Lester called me selfish, accused me of tearing the family apart. Bianca posted a cryptic Instagram story with a broken heart emoji and the caption, sometimes the real snakes hide in honor roll classes. Cute. But none of it mattered anymore. Because for the first time since Dad died, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Free. Moving out wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no cops, no slammed doors. Just me, a backpack, a quiet goodbye to the house that used to be home, and the weight of everything I wasn't going to carry anymore. Jake's parents, God bless them, didn't hesitate. They gave me a bed, a desk, and something I hadn't felt in a long time, peace. For the first time in years, I could sleep without headphones in. No Bianca's late night music. No Lester pacing the hall like a fake CEO. Just be quiet and space to breathe. I focused hard. I finished high school strong. Accepted the offer to my dream school without delay. I moved into my dorm that August with nothing flashy. No balloons. No proud parents taking photos on the quad. Just Jake helping me unload my stuff and clapping me on the back. You made it, he said. And I had. Orientation was strange. Most students were accompanied by families. Tearful hugs, last-minute advice, picture after picture. I stood off to the side, clutching a folder with my schedule and my dad's letter folded inside. I wasn't alone. But I wasn't surrounded, either. That emptiness, it didn't sting anymore. It drove me. I buried myself in work. Algorithms, group projects, late-night coding marathons in the lab. I joined a tech startup club. I met professors who reminded me of my dad, not in their knowledge, but in the way they believed in what students could become. I met someone too. Her name was Emily. She was quiet, sharp, and had a knack for explaining calculus like she was teaching it to middle schoolers. We met during office hours. Same professor, same confusion, same stubborn refusal to let a concept beat us. We started studying together, then eating together, then everything else. I told her my story eventually. Not all at once, but in pieces. Overshared noodles, walks between classes, or the quiet moments before sleep. She didn't gasp or pity me. She just said, you did the right thing, even when it costs you. I didn't realize how badly I needed to hear that. Meanwhile, life on the other side, it fell apart. Just like I knew it would. Jake's mom still lived near my old neighborhood. She kept me updated carefully, never with malice, just facts. Lester's SPY expansion never happened. Turns out he took out a private loan using forged projections and defaulted after 6 months. The place closed down. Creditors showed up. The landlord filed for eviction. Bianca. She didn't go to college. Last I heard, she was working part-time at a vape shop and posting motivational quotes on Instagram about cutting off toxic people. The irony was almost poetic. And Mom, she kept teaching. But something had changed. Jake's mom said she looked older, tired. People whispered that Lester had moved out. Some said he skipped town when the debts caught up. Others claimed she kicked him out herself. She sent birthday cards, a few texts, no pressure. Just soft little notes, hope you're well. I replied once, doing fine, hope you are too. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't hate. It was space. And sometimes that's the most loving thing you can give someone who let you down. It had been almost 4 years since I walked out of that house. In that time I'd grown. Not just older, wiser, sharper. My life had filled in around the scars. A good major, a solid relationship, an internship that paid more than Lester had probably made in any honest month of work. And then one night, a text came. From Mom. Your old professor mentioned your internship. I'm proud of you. If you're open to it, I'd like to talk. Not about the money, just talk. I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete it. Another part, quieter, tired part, remembered nights grading papers with her at the kitchen table. Remembered when she was the one who told me I could be anything. Before she forgot. So I said yes. On my terms, I texted back. Public place, neutral ground. She replied instantly. Anything you want. Just want to see you. We met at a quiet cafe near my apartment, the kind of place where no one talks too loud, and the coffee is strong enough to keep the truth from trembling. She walked in looking older. Not bad, not broken, but stripped down. The version of her that used to command classrooms was gone. She wore Dad's old MIT sweatshirt. That almost undid me. We sat. The silence stretched. Then she said softly, "Has gone. Lester. He left after the spa went under. Took everything. Even Bianca." I didn't say anything. Then came the part I didn't expect. "He never wanted to invest your college money," she said. "He wanted to pay off gambling debts. He owed dangerous people." I didn't know until it was too late. I was scared, and I was stupid. "But that's not an excuse for what I did to you." She paused, looked at me, eyes wet. "I failed him. Your father? And I failed you." There it was. Not an ask, not a justification. Just truth. For the first time in years, I reached across the table. Took her hand. "You didn't lose me that night," I said. "You lost me when you stopped seeing me." She nodded slowly. "Can I try again?" And for the first time in a long time, I said something I hadn't said to her since I was a kid. "Yeah, we can start from here." A few months later, Mom moved into a small apartment near campus. Not because she needed help, but because she finally asked. Not for a second chance, but for something honest to be part of my life again if I'd let her. She got a teaching job at a new school. Smaller, simpler. But I could tell it suited her now. Sometimes after class, she'd stop by my place. We'd cook together. She still overcooked pasta, and I still teased her about it. The silence between us, once heavy, bitter, became peaceful again. Comfortable. One evening, she brought over an old box she'd found while cleaning out storage. Inside was the ThinkPad my dad and I used to code on. The screen was cracked. The battery is long dead. But when I touched it, it still buzzed with memory. She smiled. I kept it, even when I tried to forget. Later that week, I noticed something new in her apartment, 2 frames on her shelf. One was Dad's photo in his graduation robes. The other was my college acceptance letter. Underneath it, in her handwriting, she made it. "We're not who we were. But maybe, just maybe, we're finally becoming who we're meant to be."